Yo, what's up, everyone? And welcome to another episode of Buzzer Beaters. I'm Edey Aparicio. This is my co-host, Anthony Tuan Corral, and we are brought to you by Grumblings Media. We are a podcast that's dedicated to the NBA primarily, but, we do dibble and dabble in other basketball-related activities such as the NCAA tournament and WNBA, but primarily we're an NBA podcast. And we are here usually live every Wednesday, but the last 2 to 3 weeks, work has kind of gotten in the way, unfortunately, on mine, and it's highly unusual because Wednesdays are typically the best days for me in general to do this. But as Tuan was about to convey before we got cut off, we had to restart this whole thing because of some technical difficulties.
Ain't our day job.
We have day jobs, right? This is not our full-time job. We are making time to bring this content to you. And, we recognize that it's something that the audience likes to talk about hoops, right? So we're here every Wednesday, typically live. We've been recording the last 3 weeks, but our intention is to be here live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. This is your first time. We are on episode 43. Episode 43, but we're almost got up to 50 now, Tuan. 7 more episodes. In about another month and a half to 2 months, we're going to be at 50 episodes. And we're probably going to try and do something special at that time because
we're reaching our age, Edey. We're reaching our age.
Almost our age, man. We're going to reach it, within the year for sure. So, but anyway, what we typically do is we cover about 2 to 3 topics with the intent of about going an hour. Lately, it's been going an hour and a half, usually, but our intent is to go an hour, and we've accomplished that maybe 3 out of the last 40 episodes, right? Or 43 episodes. But again, we bring a bunch of basketball content. We have 4 topics that we're going to cover this week. So the first topic that we're going to talk about actually is the playoff races. We covered that in the last episode, but it's getting tighter. We only have about 5 to 7 games left for every team, and we're going to go spend some time on that and kind of see what the trends are and what if we see any teams catching up to the teams that are ahead of them. I think that's a strong possibility based on the strength of schedule that I've seen. Then we have this segment that we've been doing monthly. It's called the Rookie Watch segment, and we've been covering the drafted rookies. We compare it to analytics and what the NBA.com with the rookie ladder. We kind of compare and contrast that. So that's going to be topic number 2. The third topic is going to be a brackets update. We did brackets, Tuan, myself, and the Cisco kids, a combined bracket, and we are going to go ahead and review how we're going on that, and who's still alive and who's not, and we have no money on this. We're just doing it for fun. And then the last segment that we're going to talk about is, there are about 15 to 16 players that we wanted to kind of go ahead and look at as the draft is coming up in June for the NBA. And a lot of these players are in the tournament right now or have been playing in the tournament, and some of them are still alive in the tournament, mainly Duke players. But we're going to go ahead and look at some of these prospects and see if their games really translate to the NBA, right? So we're going to talk about that. We don't know everybody in detail, but we're going to know some of the people that we've been seeing in the tournament, and we'll go ahead and just give you our perspective of what we think. So that's going to go ahead and cover the topics for this week. But anyway, before we begin, Tuan, what's going on, man? How you been, man?
I've been good, my man. Work's been a little hectic for me as well. Got a lot of things that I'm juggling. It's not impacting me towards the later hours like it is you, but it's still impacting me, so I'm a little worn down. And then today, I mentioned last week, my oldest daughter's kind of moving back in for a little bit, and they decided to do a spring cleaning, so it's been mayhem around here. Just people organizing things, and this goes here, and who needs that, and so that's been a little bit of mayhem. But other than that, it's been good, man. It's been good.
Right on, man. Right on.
Giants have opening day tomorrow. I think I'm going to head out for a little bit.
Oh, you're going to go?
Yeah,
I'm going to play hooky. You're playing hooky.
Yeah, I usually go with my cousins, so I'm going to go catch it. See what's going on there. So I got the day off tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, and that's really it. How about you, Ed? How you been?
All good in the hood, man. Just been working more frequently than usual. I mean, work is work, right? Family's doing good. I been doing the gym more often. I'm trying to get back down to my high school weight. I'm about 10 pounds away. I was there earlier, maybe about 5 months ago. Then I kind of fell off of it a little bit. I was kind of doing, working out pretty steadily, doing, my circuit training that I used to do with martial arts. And then I do like this high intensity interval training with a stair climber at the gym. So I work out for no more than maybe 15 to 20 minutes, but it's high intensity, man. So, and that's usually supposed to be pretty good for your heart. It's supposed to be good for your metabolism. So that's what I do, man. But overall, everything's been good, thankfully, man.
Awesome. All right, cool. I did want to, before we get started with all the topics you called out, I did want to just at the end of last week, I did mention a little comment, and it wasn't just LeBron. I mentioned LeBron. I've heard it from another couple of players,
right?
And basically, the tone of the comment was how much more athletic the players are today than yesterday. And I don't really know where yesterday starts.
Yeah, I hear you.
We're talking, the 2020s, the 2015s forward is what I'm assuming. But,
right.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that because having the benefit, you and I, of watching a couple of generations of basketball now, I think, at least for me, I started watching in the early 80s and I didn't really have a good concept of what was going on, but I know I liked watching basketball. And then kind of into the 90s where I really got into it. But, I'm a little confused, I guess, is the point. I don't know what these players mean by athletic. I know what the definition of athletic is, but you're going to tell me that today's players are more athletic than Dominique Wilkins, than Michael Jordan, than Akeem Olajuwon, than Shaquille O'Neal, and like these guys move and they have vertical, and I would argue that their fundamentals are way better than the current crop of players. So I just wanted to kind of have a little back and forth with you and see what your thoughts are. I know that you've been, throughout kind of some of these Mount Rushmores that we've been doing, you've been a big proponent of the younger generation, and things like that. So I kind of wanted to bounce that off you, see what you thought, see if you think that's true, and if so, let's talk about it.
I would say that in general, right? I'm not talking to just basketball, but in general, I would say today's athlete probably has a lot more resources, a lot more knowledge, a lot more technology available to them to enhance their already God-given athleticism, right? Now, some of the players of yesteryear, they were already athletic, right? But I'm sure if they had the same resources, the same nutrition, the same science, they would probably be right there with the same guys that we see today as far as athleticism goes. So I would say that the science of the athlete has improved over the years, as well as nutrition. There's a lot more, technology that kind of looks at, tendencies of the player throughout the game, and what are their what points do they start getting tired, and how do they go ahead and increase the endurance, at that time. There's a lot more science to it than back in the day. I mean, there was players back in the 70s and 80s, man. Especially in football, you see, like, remember Fred Dean, man? Fred Dean would like get a sack and go into the on the sideline, and he'd be smoking a cigarette, man.
Yeah, no, I remember
that. But
so valid point. Okay, so let's take that for example. All right, a lot more health, a lot more longevity. Okay, then explain this to me then. Why is it that in our era the players played 95% of 82 games?
Right.
And now players miss, they don't play back-to-backs, or they don't, I don't understand. Like, yes, I agree. I agree that this generation has the benefit of seeing everything that happened before them and build on that. Yeah. I get that. But like, to me, they're not playing more. You want to talk about, LeBron's been playing 20 years. Well, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did that, 30 years ago, and so
I had to run a longer distance too, because centers have to cover the full court, right?
Exactly. So do you think when people say athleticism, is that code word for the ability to shoot the three?
I don't know what they're trying to say. Yeah. I think based on what I didn't necessarily hear that comment. Yeah. I know you told me about it. I didn't read up on it. I know that they've been talking a little bit about it on the radio here and there. But I would say that today's athlete is probably better conditioned based on science and nutrition than the athletes of yesteryear. But I wouldn't say that they are a better athlete than the guys from yesteryear, right? Okay. Do they have, let's put it this way. You had pointed this out back in the day in one of our segments that, back when Akeem and Kareem and, Shaq and any of these other players, the 3-pointer wasn't a big deal back then. It was
No,
kind
it
of like a
wasn't.
hint, it was something that coaches kind of like frowned upon if you kind of did it too much, right?
Yep.
And but today's NBA, everybody's throwing up threes, and thanks, in big part to Steph Curry, because he's the one who essentially changed the way this game is played. And all
Correct.
teams are trying to play exactly like the Warriors had done started back in 2015, right? All these teams are still trying to do it, and 10 years later, right? But if the three-pointer was important back then, I think you would see guys like Hakeem, maybe even Kareem trying to do a skyhook from freaking 30 feet out. I don't know, man, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm not signing up to the fact that, who's the most athletic? Who would you consider the most athletic player in today's NBA?
The most
Giannis?
athletic player in today's
Giannis?
NBA. No, I don't know if he's probably. I wouldn't say that he's the most.
Anthony
athletic.
Edwards?
Yeah, I would say probably someone like him. He's probably
Okay.
the most athletically gifted player in today's NBA. I would say he has the full package for sure.
All right.
Yes,
And do you
I would
think
probably say
he's
him.
more
Yes.
athletic than Jordan?
I would say that he is a little bit more explosive than Jordan.
Really?
So yeah, I think he's a little bit more explosive, but Jordan was
Oh.
explosive as hell too, man. But I'm just saying, I just see him being. He doesn't have the junkyard dog like Jordan did, right? Like he doesn't have the mental capacity or the mental, wherewithal to be that killer.
I would argue that most players don't nowadays.
Yeah, but that was Jordan's. That was his
Correct.
competitive edge. That was his competitive advantage. Same with Kobe. He was the same way. Kobe learned from Jordan, right? That's who he mimicked his game after. So that's why they're kind of widely, considered the two most, best all-around players that we have seen, right? Because they've modeled, Kobe modeled his game out, but Anthony Edwards, he doesn't have that yet, but his athleticism is through the roof. So I would say that him and Jordan are very similar, but I would give the edge slightly to Anthony Edwards from an athleticism standpoint. But
I don't know. I mean, I just know, like when I watched Jordan, and we can argue what the competition was like, but no one could stop Jordan from attacking the hoop. No one could.
Yeah.
And yet Anthony Edwards, that's not proven in the least. He attacks the hoop when he has an opening. Otherwise, he shoots the three.
Because he doesn't have that same killer instinct that Jordan.
No, I understand, but I guess what I'm saying is we don't know if he's more athletic because he doesn't do what Jordan did. He doesn't play the way Jordan played, and I don't know if he's capable of playing the way Jordan played.
I don't know. I can tell you, he's a bigger guy.
He's mentality.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy than Jordan was, though. He's a bigger dude, man. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Like as far as like.
I get it. I get it. No, right? Definitely the players are bigger. Anyway, I don't want to, and one thing that I mentioned, who are the two best players in the league this year? I mean, in the NBA, two of them are Jokic and Doncic, which are two of the least athletic guys in the whole freaking league. So when I look at this, I'm thinking, if we went back to 1986. Okay. You gave all those guys a year to adapt to the three-pointer.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if they could shoot it, but they could sure as hell defend it.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I think you gave this generation a year to adapt to low post. I still think they can't stop those guys.
Back in the you're talking about the 80s players versus
there's no one today that's stopping Kareem, no one today that's stopping Jordan, no one today that's stopping Olajuwon. They just don't exist. Those players don't exist.
Yeah, I agree, but like Kareem's hook is unstoppable because his body's shielded, from the defender trying to get to him. Right, you have to get it on the way up. I've seen it blocked only a few times.
Yeah,
but you have to get on the way up. But someone like a Wembanyama, right? Who's very long. I think his wingspan's like about 8 feet, or pretty close to it, right?
Yeah, he might be an exception.
He might be a problem, right? And Rudy Gobert is actually pretty good at it too, but because he can jump too. So I would say that today's players would probably make it more challenging to Kareem to be as successful as he was back in the day, because he really didn't have that many people that would really contend with him. I would say Wilt, was probably the main guy. Akeem every now and then too. But that, Akeem was younger than Kareem when he was at, kind of close to 40s when they were playing, right? So, so I'm just saying that today's, I think when LeBron made that comment, I think he was just making the comment that maybe the resources, the technology, the nutrition, all of that is better today to enhance the athleticism of someone that already has the God-given talents of athleticism.
I agree with that today, but I think that, and I don't want to say the word mentally weak, but what I want to say is I think that along with all the resources that they have, they've also got it in their brain to not push beyond their perceived limits.
Yeah. And it's probably a lot of it.
Which the younger generations push beyond that all the time.
Yeah. But I think now that the teams are not, now they're trying to do a lot more load management, right? They're trying to increase the longevity of a player's career through science, right? And that's why you have this load management stuff come up, right? Whereas back in the day, there's no such thing as load management. These guys played through, right? All 82 games, a lot of times these guys were playing, and it's very rare that you see guys miss games just for rest. You see it every
I remember watching Larry Bird lying on the floor
with his back
wasn't playing because he couldn't sit down because of his back.
Yeah, no, I know.
Come in and light you up. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I think that maybe they should. Whoever's saying the word athletic should choose a different word.
Yeah,
because I don't think that today's athlete is more athletic than before.
I would say that they're probably better conditioned athletes.
Yes, they're much more knowledgeable. Yes, and they're probably better conditioned athletes. And they're probably, I get all that. I mean, we'd have to check on injuries to see if any of that benefits long term. But I just know that they're definitely. I agree with that 100%. They got better information. They're better nutrition. I mean, LeBron's the poster child for that crud. I mean, he spends $1 million a year.
He's 40 years old and he still plays like he was like early 30s, man.
Yeah, and this isn't what I wanted to talk about, but some of the things I question about LeBron is of the things that he's taking, how many of them are legal?
I don't know, man.
I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong.
I don't know, man.
I'm questioning, right? I have that.
I hear you. Back of my mind. It's like, man, I mean, you don't see an athlete like that come around with that explosive still in his 40s, man.
Correct.
Being able to do what he's doing, right?
Correct.
But but then the other thing on the other side, the two probably most prominent players in the NBA today are LeBron and Curry, right? Kevin Durant would probably have something to say about that too. But those guys have won the championships. They won the most, in today's generation. And LeBron is definitely widely considered one of the best conditioned athletes.
Oh yeah.
In the history of the NBA.
I would agree with that. But given the size of his body and the weight of his frame, you would think that things would have broken down. I can understand Curry's more light, and so the impact on his joints is less. So I could see him, extending it beyond normal. Yeah. But with LeBron's 260, 270. He's running up and down. How is his knees not just done, dude? Like
he's an incredible athlete. I mean, he's probably, for him saying what he said, he probably can say that because he's probably a living proof of that argument, right? Because he's playing in his 40s, still playing like he could have at least another 4 or 5 years left to play, right? I mean, he's not looking like he's slowing down. And then you can say the same thing about Curry. And Curry, you can argue that Curry is probably the best conditioned athlete we have ever seen in this game, man.
Because I agree, but even when I look at Curry, I'll be honest, I watch I watch a lot more Curry games than I watch LeBron games.
Yep.
But there are times I look at Curry and I'm like, that homie's tired. He's just tired.
Yeah.
And when I see LeBron, I never see him tired.
But he doesn't run around as much as Curry does, man.
Yeah, that's
true.
He's
not even close to running around as much as Curry does. Curry's playing he has the ball in his hands. He's moving around. As soon as he gets rid of the ball, he's moving. He's constantly moving. And there's a well-known thing about, Matthew Dellavedova. They've been talking about it, that guy needed oxygen after guarding Curry in the finals, right? It's a known thing. It's like, and his workouts are legendary. He's kind of like Jerry Rice. Nobody could do Jerry Rice's workouts. Yeah. Nobody could do Curry's workouts right now.
Yeah.
He's like the most conditioned athlete we have ever seen. But for the age of LeBron, he's the best conditioned athlete we've seen at that age. And for his size, I agree, man. So
I the only one that could come close would be Kareem. But Kareem, he played like an old man that had an unstoppable shot.
Correct.
LeBron, if you just looked at him, if you didn't know anything about LeBron or the NBA, and you looked at the way he moved, you think he's 33, 32.
Right.
You wouldn't think he's 40. Not the way he moves. He may look, with the hairline and everything, it may look 40, but as he's moving around, you'd guess, I don't know, mid-30s maybe.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. But
cool.
It's a good topic, man. Good topic.
Cool.
It's a good thing that you interjected that because we didn't have that as part of the agenda. But let's go ahead and get into the agenda. We'd love to hear from the audience about what your opinion is on that topic. Definitely post a comment on that as well. So, all right. So let's get into the playoff races, bro. All right. So we're
gonna do the playoff races. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the playoff races first. So the first, so we, a couple episodes ago, we talked about the East kind of being already settled, right? As far as the 10 teams, right?
Yes.
The 10 teams are already settled. It's just a matter of, where they're going to be seated right now, right? So the top 2 seeds being the Cavs and the Celtics, they're not part of this conversation because they're clinched, right? They're done. But if you look at teams like the East, from number 3 seed Knicks all the way down to number 10 seed Bulls, right? The top 6 seeds from 3 to 6, you've got the Knicks, the Pacers, the Pistons, and the Bucks, right?
Correct.
All of these guys, the Knicks, Pacers, Pistons, have 6 games left, right? The Pacers they're right now 3 games behind the Knicks for the 3rd seed. The Pistons are 3 games behind the Pacers for the 4th seed, right? So there's a lot of climbing that has to be done, a lot of winning that has to be done in order to do that. But if you look at the Knicks schedule, of their 6 games, 5 of them are against teams fighting for playoffs. So there is a possibility that the Pacers could catch them. And the reason being is because the Pacers, if you look at their last 6 games, there's only 2 teams that are fighting for playoff positioning. So they have 4 games that they can easily make up ground because of the Knicks playing a harder schedule. So that's going to be interesting to see if the Pacers can catch the Knicks, because that's a very strong possibility. I don't see the Pistons catching the Pacers, even though they're only 3 games behind, because the Pistons, of their 6 games, 5 of them are against teams that are actually fighting for playoff positioning or playoff lives themselves, right? So that makes it for a harder game. It's going to be harder for them to catch up against the Pacers. Whereas the Bucks, they're the 6th seed right now. They're right now a half game behind the Pistons. Now, can they catch the Pistons? It's very possible, right? Because they have 7 games. They played tonight. They have 7 games left, and 4 of them are against playoffs teams. So they have a kind of easier schedule compared to the Pistons. So I see potentially that the Bucks can probably catch the Pistons, and I also see the possibility of the Pacers catching the Knicks. Yeah. What are your thoughts, bro?
Well, so the Knicks got 6 games left. The Pacers
6.
I did 6 as well. So basically, the Pacers would have to go undefeated, and the Knicks would have to play 500.
Pretty much. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. But the thing is, the strength of schedule comes into play because
no. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And the Knicks have been struggling against any team that's pretty much above 500.
Right.
Because again, you and I touched on it either last week or the week before. I think they're tired. I think they're going to continue to be tired, and I think they're crawling to the freaking finish line right now. Which is
and they're doing it without Jalen Brunson, man. And
correct. He's due to return. I want to say tomorrow.
Soon,
I think
soon. I don't know exactly, but I know he's soon. But the thing is that Tom Thibodeau has to lean on his bench that he hasn't really leaned on for the rest of and he has to lean on these guys right now because out of necessity, right? But I just see based on the schedule that's playing out, and this is making for really good TV to watch, man. In the last week of games left, right? Because there's a lot of movement that's going to happen in the East. And also, we're not in the West yet, but for the top 6 teams in the East, I would say the Pacers have a really good chance of catching the Knicks, and I would say the Bucks have a decent chance of catching the Pistons. I would possibly, if I were to bet on this, I would say the Pacers are probably going to catch the Knicks, man. I think the
okay. All right. That's going out on a little bit of a limb because that's going to be a tough battle. And,
I agree.
And don't lose sight of the 7 through 10, right? There's 3 games between 7 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so
actually,
that right now Orlando's 7, Atlanta's 8, Miami's 9, and Miami won today, and Chicago is 10. So that can get flipped around. So we're going to see what that ends up like. And so, no, I'm with you. I mean, yeah, I think that'll be fun to watch. I think you're right. I think Cleveland and Boston are set. I think the Pacers could pass the Knicks. And as a matter of fact, if things have been trending, like if you look at the last 10 for the Knicks, they're 6-4, barely 500, and then the Pacers are 8-2 for their last 10. Right. So that if the trends continue the way they are, the Pacers are going to press the Knicks for that.
They are going to press the Knicks.
That is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. If the Knicks had an easier schedule, then I'd say no way, man. But they have a harder schedule, man. They're playing they have a tougher schedule, and that's why I think it's going to be interesting. I say the Pacers catch the Knicks. I say also the Bucks catch the Pistons because the Bucks have one less harder game than the Pistons.
Correct.
So they're only a half game. I think the Bucks won tonight, so they're tied right now for that 5 and 6. I think are tied. I don't know who has a tiebreaker right now, but that's going to be interesting TV, man. So, and if you look at the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seeds, if you look at their schedules, the Hawks, the Heat, and the Bulls all have easy schedules, man. Actually, everybody from here, from 7 through 10, the Magic, the Hawks, the Heat, the Bulls, all of them have relatively easy schedules because the Magic have 3 games against playoff teams of their 5. The Hawks have 3 teams of their 6 that are fighting for playoff positioning. Same goes for the Heat, 3. They already won tonight, right? And then the Bulls have 2 of their last 6 against harder teams that are playing for
actually, you know what? I take that back. I think they might have lost.
Who?
Double check.
Who, the Heat?
Yeah.
The Heat? No, let's see. The Heat. Let's see. The Heat.
No, they did lose. They did lose.
They lost to the Grizzlies.
Yeah, they lost them. The Grizzlies the Grizzlies beat them. Yep.
Yeah. Grizzlies beat them. The Bucks won. The Heat lost against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were in desperate need for a win, man. Yes.
So right now, I mean, if the Knicks drop and Milwaukee goes, then the Knicks would face Milwaukee in the first round of the playoffs.
Yep.
And you know what? And so who would you rather face, the Pistons or the Bucks in the playoffs?
If I were which team?
The Knicks.
The Knicks? I would say probably the Bucks. I would say that they prefer playing the Bucks because the Bucks don't have Damian Lillard.
Okay. Well, if the Pacers catch the Knicks and the Bucks are the 5 seed, then they'll play. Yeah. So that's going to be worth noting because I agree. I don't know if I'd want to play Detroit. Yeah,
Detroit's a tough team, man. They're an up and coming team.
Yeah, they're a tough squad. And I sure as heck know I don't want to play Indiana.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, the interesting is the play-in games, right? The play-in teams in the East. That there's going to be a lot of movement in the last week in that, right? The Hawks have been playing well. They easily can go up to 7. The Bulls have been playing well, man. They have been playing very well.
Yeah, and your boy Josh Giddey.
Yeah, dude. I mean, all of a sudden, that guy can shoot now. All of a sudden,
did you see that half court shot he threw?
That was awesome. Remember, I showed you that video and that Stacey King. Remember Stacey King?
I remember.
He was the guy doing the announcing, and that dude did an epic call, man. He was like, "Oh Lord, Elizabeth, coming to see you." Oh man, that was the funniest.
He was getting down.
The best, man. And he was like calling out like Paul Hogan, Crocodile.
Exactly, that's funny.
Oh my god, that was the funniest call.
That's not a knife.
I passed it on to a bunch of people just to listen to this. This guy just losing it. Man.
That was hilarious. But one thing about the East, the top 10 are locked in. That's it.
They're locked. We're done.
They're locked in. Nope. So I don't know what order, but they're in.
We'll see what happens. But if I were to put a bet on this, I would say the Hawks will probably catch the Magic. I will say the Bulls. I would say probably the Bulls will become the number 9 seed. And
okay, so you're looking at Atlanta, Orlando, Chicago, Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
That's my call. All right,
dude. Really quick, what a disappointing year for the Sixers, bro.
Oh, dude, I know. I mean, they're Joel Embiid. He got screwed. Once he played in the Olympics, that just altered his whole season, man. Really. Yeah. Because
he's going in for his second surgery. They're going to give him another surgery.
I know.
And Maxey's out for the rest of the season now.
Yeah. And Jared McCain had been out for a long time, dude. Yeah. So they were the Dallas Mavericks of the East, man. So.
Yeah. Paul George must have been like, what the hell did I get into?
Oh man, I know.
Paul George and Klay Thompson are calling each other right now, dude. Why?
They're gonna have to rebuild, man. Who knows? Maybe Daryl Morey is no longer there, man. We'll see, man.
Daryl Morey has not had success in building a champion. So
nope. He has not, man. So
yeah.
Well, let's dovetail to the West. Let's go to the West, man. So this West, man,
Wild West.
This is an interesting race.
Anything can happen here, bro.
Dude, so you look again. We're getting rid of the OKC Thunder because they've already clinched, right? But if you look at the Rockets being the number 2 seed, all the way down to the Spurs being the 13th seed, everybody's still alive for some kind of playoff positioning, right? Whereas we already know that the East was already, the 10 teams were already figured out, a few weeks ago. Whereas the West, there's a lot of movement. And what's crazy is, dude, if you look at all the strength of schedules, all of them have hard schedules because they're all fighting for playoff position.
They're all playing each other.
They're all playing. Yeah. So the Rockets, they have 5 games left. 4 of the 5 are for against playoff, against teams that are fighting for playoff positioning, right? Lakers, 7 games left. They of their 7, 4 of them are for against teams that are playing for playoff position. They're the 3 seed right now. They are 3 games behind the Rockets, right? Then you got the Nuggets, who are also 3 games behind the Rockets, tied right now with the Lakers, 3 and 4. They have 5 games left, but their strength of schedule, dude, all 5 of the remaining games are against teams fighting for playoff position, right? So that makes for them having a very hard schedule. Then all of a sudden, dude, when we did this last time, the Warriors were like they were in the play-in. They were the 7th seed the last time we were talking, right? And now they've moved all the way up to the 5 seed. But dude, look at from the 5 seed, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th. They're all separated only by half game, right? Yeah. Because the Warriors are 5 games out of the Rockets, right? They're only 2 games behind the Lakers and the Nuggets, and they're playing the Lakers tonight. So that could easily change as well. But the Warriors, they have 7 games left. All 7 games are going to be tough because they're all against teams fighting.
And they got a back-to-back Lakers and Nuggets tonight and tomorrow.
Dude, and then they play the Rockets.
They play the Clippers. I know they got the Clippers on their schedule somewhere.
Right. It's just they have the hardest schedule out of all the teams that are playing right now. All of them. They have the hardest schedule because they have 7 games against none. There's no cakewalk now. This playoff time now for them right now, man. So what are your thoughts, man? What's your take?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking at this and pretty much I think Houston's going to stay in the 2 seed. I don't think Houston's going to get upended. So I'm looking at this as 3 through 8 is a free for all. Like just grab whatever you want. And then you have 9 through 12. I think San Antonio, I'm going to say they're probably out. I mean, they still could inch in, but they're 4 games out of the last spot.
They're 4 games out of the last spot.
That's going to be.
They have to win all their games.
Yeah,
and Sacramento has to lose.
And they need, Sacramento or Phoenix or Portland or all 3 to lose, right? So
which is highly unlikely, man. So
so I'm thinking 9 through 12 is going to also see what's up. But Kevin Durant sprained his ankle.
Yep.
So he's probably out for a little bit. So that hurts Phoenix's chances. Anthony Edwards, did you see that? He sprained his ankle on one of the coaches. And we don't know. I have, at least up until now, I haven't heard how severe that is. But if he's out, that could be a big hit to Minnesota. And so what happens there? The Clippers maybe jump them. The Mavericks aren't, I think, like I said, that's too many games. That's 6 games. They're not going to do it. But the Clippers could jump them, and then, you're in the 8th seed. And so we'll see. But yeah, like I said, 3 through 8, it's a free-for-all. 9 through 12 is a free-for-all. And then 1 and 2 are pretty much, to me, locked in.
Yep. And so if we look at the strength of schedule, right now, the guys, the one team, there's only one team out of all of these teams that we have from 2 to 13, only one team has a very favorable schedule, and that is the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, out of their 6 games remaining, they only play against 2 teams that are fighting for playoff position. So, but the thing is, now what complicates things is what you mentioned, the aforementioned injury to Anthony Edwards. We don't know how severe it is, right? If he misses any games, that becomes now a hard schedule, not necessarily an easy one that's kind of projected right now, right? But everybody else, dude, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Clippers, those 3 teams have the hardest schedules left because every one of their games is going to be a dogfight against a team that's actually fighting for playoff position. There are no cakewalks in the West, man.
Kawhi's looking good. He's looking a little like old Kawhi there, and so
I know. Hey, by the way, did you see the clip of First Take? That they asked after Curry had his 52-point performance, right? Stephen A. Smith is a big he's a big closet Curry fan, right? He's not really a closet. He's really out there, right? Yeah, he's really telling everybody he loves Curry. And most people do. I mean, there's what's not to like about the guy, man, right? But they had Marcus Morris on there, and Marcus Morris said that the most dangerous guy in the NBA is actually Kawhi Leonard. That's the guy that's the most dangerous guy in the NBA. And of course, Stephen A. Smith just went nuts about that. He was like, "What, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" Right? He's like, "Oh, but everybody knows that Steph Curry, you have to kind of game plan to kind of hide his defensive deficiencies, right?" That was his argument. You can't do that with Kawhi. Kawhi is like good on both sides of the only thing is his health. It's his health that's been the biggest.
Yeah, that's true. But I would also argue that Steph's offensive impact and offensive efficiency can offset some of his defensive lapses that Kawhi can cover, right?
But that's why Kerr lets him get away with all the turnovers that he does, because he's a turnover.
I was listening to a podcast or the radio station or somebody, and they were saying, like Steph Curry is the best face of a franchise in the history of sports.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
you can't find anything wrong with that guy, man. I mean, he's a good individual. And dude, you know what? He's so good with like the kids. He's so good with the fans, dude. He's like very accommodating to anybody who wants to talk to him, man. Some of these superstars, they kind of like big time you. You're like, yeah, what? They move on and get out of here, right? Dude, not that guy. I don't. Did you see? I think we talked about this, but did you see the clip about Team USA? That all the guys were getting on the bus, and Curry was the only guy that went out and greeted all of the fans and actually did signings for every one of those fans that were waiting out there. He was the only one.
Yeah, the only one. You put that with the fact that his ego is so solid that he's willing to play with a Durant. He's willing to play with a Jimmy Butler. He's willing to defer. Like, dude, you do that with some of the like Kobe or Jordan. Like, they're not giving up their turf.
And the thing is, a lot of people think they mistakenly say that Curry isn't as competitive. Dude, he's a very competitive guy. He's just not the same kind of like person as maybe like a Jordan or a Kobe, who were very, strong-minded and get in your face. Yeah, Curry will get in your face in other ways, right? He does it with his play. He doesn't necessarily do it with his mouth.
He'll drop a 70-footer on you and just look at you.
Yeah. And dude, you know what's interesting? He's very engaged right now, bro. I mean, did you see like the last game when he's been playing D like out of his mind right now.
He's been playing really well, and then Bane wouldn't let him throw a practice shot, and he shoved Bane, and he's like, "Yo, what's up, man?" He's
dude, I've never seen that out of him ever.
He's definitely Draymond's rubbing after 13 years. Draymond's finally rubbing off on him. So.
Yeah, man. So, well, anyway, I think we covered the West, man. If I were a betting man right here, bro, I say that the Warriors, depending on tonight, if they beat the Lakers tonight, I see them possibly getting up to number 4. That's my call.
I think so as well. I mean, obviously, if they win tonight and they win tomorrow against Denver, which is, man, that's a tall ass order.
It is.
I could see them being in the 4th.
They could be number 4 seed, and then what happens now? It's the Lakers or the Nuggets. It's going to be. I would, if I were a betting man, I would say probably the Lakers are going to be staying at number 3, and I would say the Nuggets potentially could go to number 5.
Well, did you see the Nuggets sat down all their starters yesterday against the Spurs?
Well, it's because of that. It's because of that freaking 60-point triple double that Jokic had the other night, and they lost against Minnesota.
They lost, dude,
they lost. And that that was like a 2 overtime game. So all their starters sat.
60-point triple double. Who needs athletes, bro? Who needs athletes?
Right. And did you see the whole
60-point triple double?
And remember how we talked about the Mount Rushmore, bro? Now they're talking about it. Remember, I told you, man, Jokic should be in that conversation, and now people are talking about it.
I'm not arguing. I was just career ended versus career.
I hear you, bro, but that guy's trajectory is through the roof, and
now knock on wood. But if some injury happened tomorrow and his career was over, would he still be there? That's the way that I kind of look at it, right? The rest.
I hear you.
But if he continues down this trajectory, yes, he may be George Washington of that face.
Yes.
Like that's definitely a possibility. So in 20 years when we're still doing this podcast at 106, I remember Jokic is the one.
Yeah, right. Nice. But hey, we called it out here first, bro. Right? We called it out here first. I said he's part of the Mount Rushmore, and now they're talking about it right now. Right? So
you did.
Right. So
absolutely.
All right, man. So I think that we pretty much covered the playoff races. Let's go ahead and dovetail into the the final rookie watch. So you have the slides right now, right, bro?
Yes.
Yeah. So for the audience, we've been doing this pretty much on a monthly basis. We kind of go over, some analytics side. I found a site that kind of keeps track of all this stuff, and I kind of wanted to do a comparison of, the last time we did this, which was the end of February. So it's about a month and a little bit over a month. But you can see the order that on the right. There's two columns. You have one on the left and one on the right. The one on the left is the current rankings based on where they're at right now. The rankings from episode 39. You can see that the rankings show that Bub Carrington actually had the most minutes. This right here you're seeing is top minutes played right now out of the top 10, right? And right now Bub Carrington is still the guy as being the most minutes that he gets right now. So his minutes per game has decreased by 0.1. That's why you see that red kind of 0.1, negative 0.1, and then you see the parentheses after that 29.2 says no change. That means that his position hasn't changed. He's still number one, right? That's kind of want to have everybody see how to read what I'm conveying.
Yeah, so like Stefon Castle and Jalen Wells flip positions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So Stefon Castle was number 6 last time. He's now number 5. Jalen Wells was number 5 last time. He's now number 6, right? But you can see that their minutes, for the most part, everybody's minutes has increased, right? That's why you see all the greens, right? All their minutes increased from the last time that we did this. But what's interesting here is that you see that on the very bottom one is KJ Simpson of the Charlotte Hornets. He's been playing a lot lately because LaMelo Ball, he's been hurt a lot lately, and they pretty much are, shutting him down, right? So KJ Simpson's going to go ahead and play a lot. So now he's getting a lot of more playing time. Tristan Da Silva, he's still, he moved from 7 to 9 now. Your boy Zachary Wistarche hasn't moved. He's still there. Isaiah Collier, he's at number 7. Last time he was at number 9. So you can see that right now, the list hasn't really moved that much or changed that much. It's pretty much stayed almost identical as last time, with a little bit of movements here and there, man. Cody Williams did disappear though. He's no longer on the rankings of this side this time.
So I don't know if this was just a typo, but you bolded Jalen Wells. And
I couldn't do that, man.
All good. Yeah. But I think that's fate there, because I think Jalen Wells carries more weight than everyone else because he's the only player on this list that is playing for a team that's in the playoffs.
Correct.
So that speaks volumes, right? Everybody else, I mean, Bub Carrington, Washington's like in last place in the East,
right?
So every Washington name there, who knows if like next year they get a better player, whether those minutes are going to be impacted, right? But Jalen Wells is, he's starting. They're starting 2 rookies, both Edey, which is not on this list,
correct,
and Jalen Wells, and that is impressive. I mean,
it is impressive, man.
And they recently fired their head coach. I don't know if I don't think we talked
Taylor
about
Jenkins
it last week.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. But I think that's impressive that he's the only one here that's on a playoff team.
Yep, I agree, man. I agree. But if we look at the next list, you'll see some other. You'll see the same names come up here again. But the next list is points per game, right? So if you look, we talked about Jalen Wells. He's number 4 on this list. He stayed the same as last time. He was number 4 last time. You can see the points per game. Everybody's points per game has increased. That's why you see a bunch of plus green numbers there on the left column, right? The only one, Jalen Wells, is the only one that actually came down from last time, but it's about a point less. It's 0.8 points less. The one guy, your boy Kyle Filipowski, now appears on this list, man. Woo-hoo! He's now in the top 10. So
you're saying I caught you on a rookie?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your boy Zachary. Okay, so my guys, Stefon Castle, Alex are the top 2, right? As far as points per game. Your boy Zachary Wistarche is there at number 3, and then your my boy Zach Edey is at number 5, and your boy Kyle Filipowski, right? Dalton Connect, he's up there too. Yeah. He was on your team. He's number 8. The rest of the guys, these are guys that we haven't drafted, right? So, but you can see that everybody's minutes has gone up. You can see that the 2 guys that are in the playoff hunt right now, Jalen Wells and Zach Edey, are right next to each other at 4 and 5, right? So they're the only guys on this list. Oh, Dalton Connect too. He's also another guy that's on the playoff team. And then Kel'el Ware, right? Kel'el Ware is fighting for playoff positioning right now with Miami. So he's been playing a lot, and I'm glad they're playing him now because I thought he showed out in the summer league.
We talked about him in the summer league, and now now he's playing, and I know they lost today, but prior to that they were on a 6-game winning streak, and that was pretty good. And, just some observations, Stefon Castle, I believe, was 5th in minutes, but he's 1st in points.
Yep.
Bob Carrington was 1st in minutes, but 7th in points. I mean,
correct.
That's a telling thing.
It's not.
Filipowski wasn't even on the list for minutes, but yet he's 6th in points.
Right.
Edey wasn't on the list for minutes, and he's 5th in points. So, I look at some of those numbers, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Like, some of these guys aren't getting the same minutes as some other guys, but they're, Kal Ware wasn't even in there in minutes, and he's 9th.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh? All right, man. No. And again, the pictures on the bottom are just to show who's the top person, right? And Stefon Castle has been the top person the last 2 Rookie Watch episodes that we've covered. We can go to the next one, bro. This one is overall statistical ranking. So this is keeping like a fantasy league, right? But this is like on a per minute basis, right? It's not necessarily cumulative, because if it was cumulative, we all know Stefon Castle be the guy at the top. And what's interesting is that Stefon Castle, by the way, you know what? What's interesting is he's not even on this freaking list.
He's not.
That is interesting.
And what's also interesting?
That's interesting, man. I just caught that. He's not on this list. He's not on the list.
At least the top 5 are big men.
Yes. This is, again, overall statistics on a per minute basis. Zach Edey is considered the most efficient guy from a stat accumulation standpoint on a per minute basis. This is essentially what it says. And he was the same. He was the guy last time. All right. Alex Sarr was number 2 last time. Now Khalil Ware is number 2. Right. Donovan Klingling was number 3. He's now number 4. Right. Yves Missy. You see very little movement right now. There's very, very little movement.
It's starting to settle.
Yeah. But Matas Bucelis is new. He just showed up. On this list. So now he's
Post going up the charts.
Quentin Post moved up 2 slots, right? Bub Carrington, he's still kind of near the bottom. He gets the most minutes, but he's not the most efficient.
My boy Bucelis, correct.
Which is surprising that Stefon Castle wouldn't be on this list, but he's not.
Yes.
Which is interesting. But all right, man. So we can go to the last slide on this is essentially what we're comparing the analytics that we just covered on the last slide, which is the column on the right. And then we're comparing it to the subjective NBA.com rookie ladder that actually just provided this 2 days ago, right? So it's kind of timely. I don't know what the formatting got all messed up here, man. But Stefon Castle is widely regarded to be now the rookie of the year. And when we did our fantasy rookie league, he accumulated the most points from an overall statistical standpoint, which is surprising that he didn't appear in that last list, right? Which is the same one the list that's on the right. He should be the guy on that list somewhere. I don't know why he's not on there. But anyway, Stefon Castle is widely regarded to be he's going to be the rookie of the year. Zach Edey could have been there, but he missed too many games. Your boy Zachary Rees-Shea right now is considered to be the second guy to be. And what I wanted to list here is where they were drafted. Okay, Stefon Castle was the 4th pick, right? Zachary Rees-Shea was the 1st pick. The ones that I've highlighted are all 2nd round picks. What's interesting is that in the top 10 of NBA.com, 3 of those guys are 2nd round. Actually, 2 of those guys are 2nd round picks. Isaiah Collier was still in the 1st round, right? Because he's the 29th pick. But you can see that there's a lot of late pick value here, man. Right?
So Edey, the analytics ranking episode or the analytics rankings, that's on a per game basis, right? Not
per game per minute.
Yep. So basically, every game's new. Whatever they're bringing to the table on a day in day out basis, and
it's cumulative.
What's interesting is Stefon Castle's not even on that list.
That's what I'm saying. That was what's interesting. He plays a lot of minutes though, and sometimes he does disappear. There are some games where he just goes off, and other times he does not. This kind of measures consistency too, man. All right.
Well, I think it's also in a love for the scoring, right? He's probably the best scorer. Of most of these people here, but how good are his assists or his rebounds or his
overall game
blocks or his overall game? So
that's interesting.
It's more of a love affair with the scoring.
Well, that's typically what the subjective NBA.com rookie ladder looks at is mostly scoring, because that's what's flashy, right? But overall analytics, I think, should be taken into consideration. And what's interesting is that the one on the right. It should have Stefon Castle. I don't know why he's not in there. Maybe it might have been an oversight on my part, but I doubt it because I really looked at this carefully, and Stefon Castle was not on there. He might be like later, like 11 or 12, but because he hadn't always been in that list. Even in past episodes, he wasn't always on that analytics list, right? But But I would say, you know, this is our last rookie watch segment. We're not going to cover this anymore. We wanted to kind of, you know, go over all the rookies, the top 10 rookies that were drafted in each of these different categories, minutes, also points, and then analytics, and then subjective versus the analytics. And in my opinion, I think Stefon Castle was going to be the rookie of the year. I would say that the guy after that, I don't think it's going to be Zachary Reese-Archet. I think it's going to be Alex Starr is going to be probably be the second guy. And then Reese-Archet would probably be number 3. And then at that point, I say probably Jalen Wells would be number 4. You know, because he's on a playoff team, right? All these other guys, you know, they're not on playoff teams. So I that's the order that I would say that would be the order in the votes that they get. So
yeah, I agree with you, but I am going to step a little bit, and I'm going to say the second place is going to be Zach Edey.
Oh, you think so?
The reason being, no, I don't think so. I think what you're saying is right, but I'm hoping that a rookie that impacts a playoff team counts more.
Counts more. Yeah.
Counts more, right? And I think that Edey has been more stable throughout the whole year. I think Jalen Wells is probably the better player now, but I think statistically throughout the whole year, Zach Edey, and I would like him to at least be in the top 3. You know, I think he deserves it. And he plays a I don't want to say a tough position, but it's almost like a forgotten position, you know? And whenever he plays the Warriors, man, that dude's he's a pass, dude. He's hard
a big dude though, man. He's huge. He's a huge dude.
I mean, I was watching Quentin Post. Quentin Post 7-footer looks small compared to this dude.
He's a big dude, man.
And he's lost a lot of weight, and he moves.
Yeah, he looks a lot more agile because that was the knock. Yeah. That was a knock on him, whether his agility or his athleticism would translate. And so far,
I also, I mean, you know, based on the statistics and everything, I also think Donovan Clingan should have gotten a little more love than he's getting. You know, he's been impactful, but, you know, whatever. You know, we'll see. I think you're probably right. I think it'll be Castle, Sarr, Reese-Archet, you know.
And then Wells. And then probably Wells.
Something like that. I think it'll be. You know, and if you're going to round it to the 5, maybe Zach makes it in the 5th spot. But but I'd like to see him in the 2nd. I would.
I hear you, man. But well, there you have it. That's our rookie watch segment. So now we're going into our 3rd segment, which is the brackets. All right.
Started off so strong, Edey.
Yeah. So Tuan, you know, last time we were doing this, I was the worst. Right. I was like at 16 point whatever million place. Right. But what happened here is that last week, all your final 4 were still intact. And then 3 of your 4 are lost, bro. All right. And that's, you only have Duke left out of your final 4. And then the Cisco kids, you know, it lost, you know,
Cisco kids is number 2. I'm number.
I know. I'm just pointing out that there's Michigan State and St. John's are now removed. So there's only 2 left.
No, correct. What I'm saying is you labeled this wrong. Number 1 were my picks. So Tuan should be down here. And Cisco should be up there. I'm in last place.
Oh, so wait, okay. So Cisco Kids is number 2.
Yes, Cisco Kids in 2nd place.
Oh, okay. So I misread it when you sent me that text, man. But anyway, bottom line is I was in last, and now I'm in 1st because of the final 3.
Correct.
3 of the 4 are still alive, man. So. And right now it shows like I'm in the 68.8 percentile. You're in the 54.1 percentile.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Yeah, man. It's all because of the final 4, man. So
basically you have Duke and Houston.
Yep.
So
Duke, Houston and Florida.
No. What I'm saying is you have 2 of the 2 that I have alive, so I'm not catching you. Is basically the gist of it.
Pretty much. I pretty much won this one, man. So
and pick number 2 is not catching either of us.
Correct. So
so the Cisco, so our whole theory about picking the best player from the school went sour.
It totally did. But okay. So real quick, you're the one that's in last right now, right?
I am in last place. Correct.
Okay. So the Cisco kids actually did a little bit better than yours.
Correct.
Yeah. It's all because of
So I keep looking at it backwards.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm in last. So you're saying I got you.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in last place.
Yep. So all right, man. So we just want to go ahead and cover. Hopefully, those of you that are watching our show, I'm sure a lot of you still have your final 4 in place. Be interesting to see where you're ranked that would be great if you can post it. Like, I'd love to see where you guys are ranked, man. So
show off.
Yeah, exactly. There was one year, bro, on ESPN that I was in the top 9%. Like,
really,
I was like at 9. It was like a 91 percentile. Rather than 60, I was at 91. This was like maybe 14, 15 years ago, bro. Yeah, that's the best.
Do you know if you play for free, right?
Yeah.
If you get them all right, do they give you something?
Yeah. You can enter it into the. It's never been done, by the way, bro.
No, right? And it probably never will.
It never will be done. But yeah, I mean, you can enter on CBS, ESPN. There's like the perfect bracket kind of thing, and then you can win money, right? But it's never been done, dude. So it'll never be done.
It's highly unlikely.
Yep. So all right, man. So let's go on to the last part of our segment. So this is I'm just gonna go ahead. I'll take away this banner, but we've been watching the NCAA tournament diligently because Tuan and I like to compete against each other on stuff. But it's also good to see some of these prospects that are going to be in the NBA. So I only did 15 players that that have been in the tournament, and most of these guys are no longer in play because the only guys that are still alive on this list are the Duke players. Really, there's 3 Duke players in the top 10 right now that are projected draft. Right now. No, I did see some of these players, right, that are highlighted and that are bolded. The ones that are bolded are the ones that are actually have been in the tournament or are still in the tournament. But Michigan State just lost, so the number 9 guy, Jace Richardson, he's out, right?
That's
so
Jason Richardson's son.
Is he really?
Yeah, I believe so.
No, is he really?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that's
no way.
I believe that's Jay Rich's son. Yes.
No way. I did not know that. That is so cool, man. That's cool, man. Jay Rich's son, man. And he stayed with Michigan State, man.
Yes,
I'm sure that he programmed his son to go to Michigan State. I tried to program my kid to go to Cal Poly. She didn't want anything to do with it, man. Didn't want anything to do with it, man. It could have saved me a lot of money, but anyway. So
that's how you know. That's how you know she's your kid. When she refuses to save you money, that's your kid.
Yeah, exactly, bro. All right, so let me ask you something. Okay, the consensus number 1 pick is widely considered to be Cooper Flagg. And I think he is going to be widely considered. I mean, he is going to be the number 1 pick. Now, if you look at some of the, some of the guys that they compare him to, man, I don't know if you saw any research on the web, but I did find a website that actually talked about some of these comparisons, and they compared him to be like a Kevin Garnett, bro. All right. Now, I don't see that. I don't see the defensive,
I don't either.
Mindfulness that Kevin Garnett had, right? But I don't know if Kevin Garnett was that guy right from the outset. He could have developed to be that guy. And it's possible that, Cooper Flagg could develop to be that guy, right? But, what's interesting is this guy's only 17 years old, bro. He's only 17 years old, right? He's about to turn 18, Cooper Flagg, right?
Yeah.
So, so, I mean, this guy's talent, we saw it in Team USA when they were, he was on the USA Team Select. They were preparing Team USA for the Olympics. And this guy stood out, man. We're like, oh, who is this dude? Because I know all these players. And I saw this guy, Cooper Flagg. I'm like, who is this dude?
I remember I was watching it too. And I'm like, holy smacks.
Holy smokes. Who is this guy, right?
Wow.
And he's been showing out, man. Actually, I think he's 8. He just turned 18, by the way. But he showed out and he's been showing out in the tournament, right? I mean, you can see that you can use it. The eye test usually tells you a lot when you watch these games. I always look for the guys who really stand out just from the eye test. And this guy stands out, man. So it's for sure he's going to be the number 1 pick. He's got great size.
Do you think anybody on this list has the possibility of upsetting him at the 1 seed?
I don't think so, bro.
I don't think so.
I don't see. He's number 1, man. I mean,
I was looking at that guy you had in the 13th slot. I've never seen him play. That Noah Asenge.
Noah Asenge. Yeah, I have not seen him either, man. A lot of these guys I have not seen. But one thing I wanted to point out, bro, what's interesting is that out of the top 4 picks, 2 of them are from the same school. How in the hell did that team not make it to the tournament? If you have 2 prospects that are on your team,
great question.
Yeah, Rutgers. I mean, I think they were a playing team.
Here's where I start putting in my whatchamacallit, what's his name? Ben Simmons theory.
Oh, Ben Simmons. Yeah.
Like
Brandon Ingram.
Winning goes a long way. Like, not, and I don't mean it just because they won, but knowing how to win.
Yeah.
You know, the year that Ben Simmons was drafted, what was he, first or second? He was first, right?
He was first. Ben Simmons was first.
Yeah, and his LSU team didn't even make the tournament.
I know.
I'm like, how do you draft a guy number 1 where he can't even get his team into the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you, man. You know.
Yeah, and I remember you and I mean, obviously,
we were talking about that.
We had a conversation. I'm like, I'm taking Brandon Ingram. Just based on that fact, I'm taking Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, well, he was on the better team, Duke,
and
right?
Cooper Flagg, I mean, who's going to stop him from winning the championship? So I think that alone,
I don't see them losing, man. Duke's going to win it, man. But yeah, I wanted to point it out because your argument is, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper of Rutgers, these guys, their team didn't even make the tournament, and if you have two of these guys that are on the team, do these guys have what it takes to be, those guys in the NBA?
And I look at that and I have it in question. What's interesting is we don't have any St. John's players, no Arizona player. Oh, there's an Arizona Brian at the bottom there.
Yeah, they're at the very bottom. Carter Bryant.
Yeah, at the bottom. Tennessee, right? They went pretty far, and they're not in here. So one guy I want to point out, bro. All right. Yeah.
This Con Knuppel from Duke. Have you seen him play? Have you watched him play?
I've seen Duke play. He's pretty good.
Okay, he is good, man. But you know what? I don't see this guy translating in the NBA, man.
Okay, tell me.
And the reason being is I don't see the athleticism. He's got good size. He's 6'6". He's 217 pounds. He can shoot. I mean, he's compared to shooters that are in the NBA. So namely like a Kevin Huerter, a Sadiq Bey, Corey Kispert type guys.
Okay.
Those
professional shooters.
Yeah, those guys don't really stand out. Those guys are all similar in style because they're all kind of just shooting guys that are not very athletic. And that's what kind of stands out to me about Con Knuppel. Good player, but more of in my opinion, I see him more of like a Christian Laettner type, a guy who's really good in college, but doesn't necessarily translate in the NBA.
So you're seeing that he doesn't have the ability to create his own shot.
I think he's going to have a problem with that because he's not that fast. I don't know if he can jump very well. I think a very highly athletic defender is going to shut him down, bro. I just see that. And I don't see him.
He's a little bit of a byproduct of playing with Cooper Flagg, then.
Probably. But he does well, though. I mean, he plays well on Duke. He's one of their leading scorers.
Correct. But if your defense is focused on Cooper Flagg, then you're naturally going to be open.
Clay. He's like Clay, although Clay is a good player, man. But he's like Clay. Clay benefited because of Curry, right? Because Curry got all the attention, and Clay, kept the defenses honest because they can't put all the attention on Curry because Clay could shoot, right? So this guy could be exactly that.
So here's a little fun fact. I'm going to expose myself a little. The first year and a half to 2 years we had Clay.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, this guy's not going to work out.
You know what's funny? I said the same thing.
Yeah. Like, dude, this guy's like a robot. It's like I'm watching old Atari basketball playing.
Yeah, dude. He couldn't shoot. Couldn't do layups. They were calling them clayups. He couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
Layups,
I'm like, dude, and it just goes to show you, dude, like some of these guys, they've got the DNA to figure it out, And yes, obviously it's in no short order that he owes a lot to Steph for giving him open, but he took full advantage of that, dude. I mean, he's arguably the second best shooter in the history of the NBA.
For sure.
And his inside game has become a lot better. I mean, it was never his strong suit, but so I'm wondering, if some guy like Con Knuppel or something, they have that in them, then maybe they can figure it out. But you're right. Right now he's benefiting from a pretty stacked Duke team. I mean, obviously that Kaman Malak, that dude
Malawach, Malawach.
Malawach.
He looks like a player, man. That guy looks like he's going to be a good player. He's
the third best guy on his team just on this list.
Yeah, but he's 7'2", man. He's actually pretty athletic.
No, I'm saying Knuppel is. He's the third best player on this squad.
Yeah. I hear you. But you're right because he's like projected to be the 10th pick, and this Kaman Malawach is going to be he's projected to be the 7th pick. He's being compared to somebody that's in the NBA right now, Mark Williams, who actually is a pretty damn good center, a very underrated center.
When he's healthy.
When he's healthy, and that was the guy that the Lakers had gotten, but then because of a physical that was failed, they rescinded on that trade, right?
They gave up Connect for him, and then
exactly. And then Connect had to come back to the team that didn't want him anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, this guy Malawatch looks like he's going to be a player, man. So I say this guy is going to be a guy that I think is going to be good. Now all these other guys. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to note. Last year we had three Frenchmen in the top 10.
Yep.
And this year, the only international player is that Noah at 13.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yeah. It's just interesting how that is.
Well, dude, there's one guy that I want to point out because when I was reading his mock draft bio,
yes,
this guy, Derek Queen out of Maryland. Okay. He is 6'10", 246 pounds. He is being compared to Alperen Şengün. Right now, that's saying something, bro.
Baby Jokic.
Baby Jokic. He's being
so now we have baby Jokic.
We have baby Junior Jokic.
My God.
Yeah, man. But this guy, supposedly he's got great IQ. He's got good scoring versatility, kind of like what Mark Williams is right now. Because Mark Williams is a low post threat, but he also can shoot the outside shot. He's not necessarily the most athletic guy in the world, but he's athletic enough, right? Mark Williams we're talking about. So Derek Queen, I want to point him out because of who he's being compared to, right? So the guy one of the guys from Rutgers, Ace Bailey, he's being compared to Rashard Lewis, Michael Porter, Brandon Miller. Okay, these are all long, good shooting guys because this guy Bailey is 6'10". Okay, he's a 6'10" shooting guard. Small forward type, kind of like what Brandon Miller is. Brandon Miller's that type, right? Michael Porter's that type. And Michael Porter's become kind of like a very good NBA player, right? He's kind of considered like a poor man's Klay Thompson, right?
Correct.
Right? That's who he's considered.
But he's so much taller.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had to deal with the back issues the first year and a half to 2 years, but
Yep. And then probably the last guy I'll probably just cover because a lot of these guys, I didn't really get to see them. The only guys I see, I've seen are the guys that have played in the tournament, and only the guys that are still in the Final Four is Duke. So I've been watching those guys pretty closely. But the other guy that I wanted to bring up was this other guy from Rutgers. He's widely considered the best point guard prospect in this draft. And it's this guy Dylan Harper from Rutgers. He's being compared to De'Aaron Fox. All right, he's being compared to a Jalen Brunson, also compared to a Kobe White. All right, that tells you that this guy could be pretty damn good, man. If he's
is he fast like Fox or bulky like?
He's probably like more. Yeah, I don't think he's fast like Fox. There's not many that are fast like Fox. I think he's just more crafty, right? He's like a crafty guy, and that's what Jalen Brunson is. He's a crafty freaking point guard, right? Little guy, but he can score at any level.
He's a bowling pin, He
is, man, and but this guy Dylan Harper 6'6", so he's a big dude. And 215 pounds. He's a 6'6", 215-pound point guard. So he's kind of like Isaiah Collier is, because Isaiah Collier is like 6'4". The guy from USC, he plays for the Utah Jazz. He's like 220, man. He's like a big dude. He's like a freaking linebacker, right? Yeah. So this is what Dylan Harper is projected to be, kind of like in that mold, the kind of a strong Baron Davis, Jalen Brunson, but shifty, right? Like De'Aaron Fox, right? Gotcha. Not necessarily fast.
Okay. Well, a 6'6" point guard already. Hello,
that's a problem, right? Yeah. And you have Josh Giddey, who's 6'8" point guard, and all of a sudden he's emerged to be a really good player, man. So
but Josh Giddey's not the most athletic guy. Yeah, he's still a little kludgy,
Yeah.
If this guy's athletic and kind of a brawler, I mean, that could be something. I'm gonna look him up and do a little more research on him.
Yeah, exactly, man. So, well, hey, man. So that's what I wanted to cover is just some of these guys that are in. Just pay close attention to the guys that are in Duke. I want you to kind of give me your opinion of what you think of Concanupo. Now that I kind of pointed him out, some of the liabilities I think he'd have in the NBA. Cooper Flagg's not going to have any liability in the NBA. I mean, he's going to be considered a can't miss prospect, right? And there's no doubt that guy's going to be a beast in the NBA, in my opinion, man.
It's just a matter of whether the mentals will have him carry out, because that's still a big burden. Some people burn out, but hopefully he'll be what everybody thinks he'll be.
Right, exactly.
And then we have a new Great White Hope again, I guess.
Yeah, the new Larry Bird, right? So,
Bird, yeah.
Well, hey, man. So we actually did it in an hour and 9 minutes, man. Not bad,
Perfect.
man. So we are, we covered the playoff races. We talked about our final rookie watch segment where we project that probably Stefon Castle is going to be the rookie of the year. And then we talked about our brackets. I kind of came out from the doldrums. I was actually in last place, and now I'm in first place because I have 3 of the final 4 left still in there.
Now I'm in the doldrums.
And Tuan's in the doldrums now, man. So
I don't like it, dude.
Yeah, and then we talked about some of the some of the players that are projected to be in the NBA. We haven't watched every one of these guys closely, but the guys that we know of are the guys that are playing in Duke right now. They're the ones that are still alive, and I wanted to kind of have Tuan kind of pay close attention to Con Canupul because he's kind of being projected as being the 10th pick in the draft. I think he's probably benefiting. Kind of like Klay Thompson was benefiting and playing with Curry. I think he's kind of the same thing with him, that he's benefiting from playing with Cooper Flagg and Malawatch too. So, but and then we picked out some of these other guys from Rutgers that that 2 out of the top 4 are from Rutgers, and these guys are considered the 2 of the best prospects in the NBA, and yet their team didn't make the tournament. There's got to be something to be said about that, man. But anyway, that's our show, bro. So. Again, this is a Buzzer Beaters. We are a property of grumblingsmedia.com. You can find us on grumblingsmedia.com. You can also find us on any podcast outlet you can think of, such as Facebook, YouTube, X, you name it. Any podcast outlet you can think of, you can find us. This is episode 43. I'm Edey Aparicio. This is Anthony Tuan Corral. We are also known as the Cisco Kids, and we're going to be here again next Wednesday. I promise we're going to be here live. We're going to be here live, man. All right. So anyway, let's go see what the Warriors are going to do, man. So
they're up 13.
Again, we're going to go ahead.
They're up 13.
Right on, man. Right on. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Until next week. Have a good rest of the week, everyone.
All right.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes.